Hey, what's up, everyone? Ralph here. So before you start investing, there are several important steps and considerations that you need to take to ensure that you're financially prepared and making informed decisions. Because I know right now, like especially when so many people are struggling financially, right now everybody's trying to find ways to build wealth when it comes to investing in like real estate, stocks, businesses. So everybody's trying to find ways to improve their financial situation. But before you do that, you want to make sure you're prepared financially to do that. And that's why in this video I'm going to share with you 7 things that you need to do before you start investing, right? So the first thing you want to do is build an emergency fund, right? Because one thing that a lot of people get in trouble is like they'll start investing, right? And then let's say an emergency comes up, like maybe a health emergency or maybe a car, some issue with your car. What a lot of people tend to do is that they may not have the monies like saved up in their like savings account. What they'll do is they'll then dip into their investment portfolio so they can take that money out. And that's the last thing you want to do, right? You don't want to touch that investment portfolio because you want to let that money compound in your portfolio. And for a lot of people, like when things come up in emergencies, this is what they'll do. They'll dip into that and they'll take that money and then use it to pay for whatever emergency they have. And that's the last thing you want to do. Like I said, you want to make sure it's compounding and you're getting benefit of that compounding and letting that thing build over time so you help build your wealth over time. So making sure you build that emergency fund is important. And make sure when you build that emergency fund, make sure you're keeping that emergency fund in a high yield savings accounts, right? Don't let it just sit in your bank where it's getting 0% interest and you're losing money. Make sure you want to take that emergency fund. Obviously 3 to 6 months is ideal. You want to put that in a high yield savings account, so at least as it's sitting there, it's at least making some money as it sits there. So once you build that emergency fund, make sure it's in a high yield savings account. All right, so the next thing is you want to pay off high interest debt, right? Like I said, everybody's like motivated to want to invest and stuff like that, but if it makes no sense like investing in something where let's say you're getting 10% return, but you have this debt that's taking 20% of your money, right? Like a credit card's got 20%. So you want to make sure you're paying off that debt first, because that's going to be the best return on your investment, right? If you can pay off that debt, that's 20% of at least 20%. That's coming back to you every year, and then you can then take that money and then put it in an investment. So I know for a lot of people, like they try to figure out like, should I invest first or should I pay off the debt, right? Obviously you want to kind of do both, but you want to obviously focus on that debt, that high interest debt, because that's going to be your best return on investment. Once you're done paying off that debt, especially if it's one of these credit cards that have 20% plus APR, you want to pay that off, and then once you're done with that, then you can use that money to invest in anything like real estate or stocks or whatever it is that you're looking to invest in. Now the third thing is you want to set clear financial goals, right? It's because it's important. Like a lot of people, like when they want to invest, but they have when they're talking about building wealth or they want to get themselves better when it comes to their finances, they have no goals. They have no idea. Like, what are you doing? Are you saving for retirement? Or is there like a major purchase that you're looking to? Like, are you trying to create some type of income? Maybe say dividend income. You need to understand, like, having goals helps to determine where you're going, right? You don't want to just like, I'm just going to invest for, just invest. And of course you want to start investing just to get into the habit of things, but it's important to at least know what you're investing for, like, because there's so many different investment vehicles, whether you're investing for retirement or maybe you have this income generating asset that's going to help, pay for a major purpose. It's important as you're investing, you want to make sure that you have goals so you at least know where you're going when it comes to your investments. Now the fourth thing is educating yourself, right? And this is where a lot of people get in trouble, right? One thing, if you ask any like veteran investor, like someone that's experienced, they'll tell you never invest in something you don't understand. And I think for a lot of people, this is where they get caught up. They're like, oh, a friend told them like, oh, you should invest in something, but they have no understanding of that investment vehicle, whether you're investing in stocks, whether you're investing in real estate. You don't want to just invest in something just to investment's sake. You want to make sure at least understand what you're investing in, whether it's stocks, mutual funds, real estate, bonds, whatever it is, whatever investment vehicle, you need to at least have some level of knowledge about it. And that's where reading books come in, watching videos like you're doing now. You want to at least understand, and this should happen all the time, like continuously. You should always be trying to learn and understand investments because things are always changing, and you want to always make sure you're knowledgeable about what you're investing in, because there's like so many scams out there, and there's always someone that's saying, hey, invest this, you could get X returns, but you need to understand it yourself. Don't just take anyone's word for it and say, oh, you can get 20, 30, 40% return on this investment. You need to at least understand what you're investing in, and so you can help you avoid people that are trying to scam you for your money. So always make sure that you're educating yourself and increasing your financial literacy so you can at least understand what you're investing in and make sure that you can get the best return on investment. The fifth thing is know your risk tolerance, right? Because Understanding your risk tolerance is going to determine what type of investment vehicle that you'll get into, whether it's real estate, stocks, or businesses, or any other type of investment vehicle. And that's the thing, like I said, all investments have some level of risk, but you really need to have an idea of what your risk tolerance is, because you're someone that's obviously, if you're older, right, you're right near retirement, then you can have a lower risk tolerance because you're like, all right, you need to make sure you preserve your money. But if you're someone that's younger in your 20s, then you're gonna have a higher risk tolerance because, like, hey, something happens, I could always make up that money. So you need to really understand your risk tolerance, and because especially with the stock market as well. Like, if you've ever seen the stock market, it fluctuates all the time. You need to be able to handle that. I remember when I first got into the stock market, especially back in March, 2020, when the pandemic happened and the stock market dropped. Me, stupidly, I took the money out, right? And I was like, oh man, I got nervous, I got scared, right? It's because I didn't have that discipline and I didn't have that experience. And I, at the time, like, even though I thought I was, my tolerance was high, but when you see the market drop like that, I've never experienced that before. It was something I wasn't experienced about. I wasn't used to. But as I developed and I've started educating myself and I've figured out my risk tolerance, I'm able to handle things like that much better. Like, if that happens again, that's just more of an opportunity to buy in the market. So it's really understanding your risk tolerance and understanding what you can handle. That's going to determine what type of investment vehicle you're going to get yourself into. So that's something you really need to figure out, especially once you start investing. The next thing is budgeting and controlling your spending, right? And this is what you like, if you're going to invest, you need to make sure and understand how much you can invest in, right? I always talk about how you should pay yourself first, right? And when we talk about pay yourself first, it's like, if you have a job, you have income coming in, you want to make sure you're taking at least 10% of that money and putting it off to the side so you can use that money to invest. And that's just at least. If you can't do 10%, 5% is fine, but you want to at least get to that point where you're doing at least 10%. So you want to at least be taking that 10%, put it off to the side so you can then invest that money into investment vehicles. So you want, but in order to do that, you need to budget, right? You need to find out how much money is coming in, how much is coming out, and then whatever is left, you can use to invest into real estate, stocks, or whatever it is that you're trying to invest in. And you always want to make sure you have an idea, because for a lot of people, the reason why they live in paycheck to paycheck, or they find themselves not having money, is because they have no idea where the money's going, right? They have no idea, a financial picture of what's happening to their money. Understanding what money's coming in, what's going out, then you can say, all right, I need to adjust some things. I need to reduce my expenses so I can then have money left over, and I can use that money to then invest into the things that can help me build wealth over time. So you have to be able to budget, control that spending, so you can then use that money to help build wealth long term. And finally, if you're someone that's just feeling overwhelmed with the whole process of, like, all right, where do I get started with investing, then try to seek, like, professional advice, right? At least talk to someone that understands, when it comes to whatever your financial goals are, what's your financial status situation. Talk to somebody so they can at least give you an idea, like they can guide you in what, give you some ideas on, like, what you should be doing or what kind of investments you should be investing in. Because obviously people on the internet, we can't give you financial advice. So it's important to be like, all right, if you're feeling overwhelmed and it's just like seems like a lot of information, just talk to somebody that you can trust, and obviously that has the experience that understands investing, and talk to them and so they can give you at least some guidance when it comes to what to invest in, because that's important. You don't want to just follow anybody blindly, like some guy on the street when it comes to investment, or some guy on the internet like me. But you want to make sure that if you're someone that's struggling with figuring out how to get started with investment, talk to somebody that's a professional that has the credentials to invest and see what, and they can decide help you decide what's best for you. So just understand that when it comes to investing, like, there's always risk involved. But, like, if you're someone when it comes to investing, you want to make sure that you take these steps before you start investing, right? Because you want to pay off high interest debt. You want to make sure that you have financial goals. You want to make sure you're educating yourself, because you don't want to just take your money and then risk it all into just, let me just put this money in the stock market or the real estate and then lose it all, right? You want to make sure you're prepared to help yourself build wealth long term. Because even though building wealth it can seem like this complicated thing, it's very simple, right? It's just like, if you have money coming in, you have income coming in, the goal is to multiply that money, right? That's one. If you read The Richest Man in Babylon, what they talk about is that you want to figure out how to multiply the money. That's one of the most important things, right? Income coming in, take that money, pay yourself first, and then figure out how to multiply it. The way you multiply that is you put into investment vehicles like real estate, stocks, businesses, whatever income generating investment that you can put yourself in. But in order to do that first, you got to make sure you're prepared. You got paying off debt, you're educating yourself, and you understand what you're investing in. So hopefully you found this content helpful. If you got any comments or questions, make sure to leave it down below. Hit the like button and share. And if you haven't done so already, make sure to subscribe. All right, so you guys take care and have a good one. Later.